Hello, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fix It or Feel It. I'm your host, Brian Clark, and today's episode is brought to you by that ticking clock you have in your bedroom that you never noticed before, but now it's 3 a.m. and dead silent, and it's the only thing you'll ever hear for the rest of your life. We're going to get right into it today. I actually had a very different episode planned for today, but something much more present has popped up for me, and it is motivation or lack thereof. I have been rotting on the couch for the last 2.5 hours. When I say rotting on the couch, I am not talking about sitting there and watching documentaries about the dwindling numbers of megafauna. Talking about watching full-on mukbang videos where some jabroni is attempting to consume 40,000 calories in a day. In full transparency, I did not want to record this podcast today. Kinda still don't. I've been pounding different forms of caffeine for the last half hour and trying to get some sunlight and singing weird songs around my house to do something to inject some form of excitement about what I'm doing right now. But I think that is a good teaching lesson for all of us, isn't it? Because I think a lot of times when we think about motivation, the word motivation, or at least when I think about the word motivation, it feels like this killer instinct that you just have or you don't. You're either Dwayne The Rock Johnson and you're traveling with the Steel Paradise and setting up a $20,000 gym at every single movie set and waking up at 4 a.m. to lift weights for 3.5 hours, or you're rotting on the couch, watching some guy attempt to smush 12 Krispy Kreme donuts into one bite-sized donut. But I actually am pretty glad that this lack of motivation presented itself today because I have been thinking a lot about it lately. It's been popping up, and not just the lack of motivation, but our relationship to it, how we interpret it. I actually made a short form video about this trend I've been noticing on social media lately, where the self-improvement and personal growth community has kind of been co-opted by this like aggro bro energy, this motivation talk, where it's all about rise and grind, no days off, that killer instinct. You gotta be cutthroat out here in the streets, bro. Someone's coming for you. They're coming for your family. They're coming for everything you own, and you gotta defend it with your life by never stopping moving. Be a shark, bro. Even when you're asleep, you're moving. And I can't think of anything that turns me off more about trying to get motivated to turn my life around or get up and go for a walk or make myself a healthy meal than some toxic masculine dude yelling in my face about how I have no other option. And I mean, if that works for you, great. But I actually am in one of the more productive eras, as they would say, of my life right now. And sometimes that productivity involves sitting on the couch and absolutely agonizing over when to get started or how much I don't want to get started. I was listening to a podcast with Paul Rudd, and he was talking about getting in shape for Ant-Man. He's never been a super, I mean, he's hot as hell, but he's never been like a super jacked dude. But in order to be a Marvel superhero, the studio gave him the trainer of the stars, the guys that get you to look like a superhero. And he was saying that the trainer that they hired him told him, I'm going to tell you the secret that I've told every single star that I've gotten in shape. And he was like, I'm going to share it with you for free. Here's what he told me. The secret is that you're never going to want to do any of the stuff you have to do to get into the shape that you need to be in this movie. But here's the secret. You just do it anyway. Now, I'm not saying that your goals need to be to become the sexiest man on earth and have a six pack or put $1 billion in the bank, but there's a lot of truth in the fact that we think that you one day will wake up with the motivation. One day, I'll go to sleep, and when I open my eyes, I will be that version of myself that has the drive to do all of the things I've always wanted to do and accomplish all of my goals. And that is just not reasonable. Some days you will. Some days I wake up feeling like I want to karate kick the sun and I get after it real hard. But there are a lot of days where I wake up and the thought of doing anything is nauseating. And I am not saying that I've always been really good at pushing through that and getting something done anyway. I have certainly and recently fallen into some holes where I've rotted in bed for a day or two. But what I am learning, and this might not be a revelation to any of you, but it certainly was to me, is that you are not committed to feeling how you feel when you wake up for the rest of the day. I found a lot of usefulness in letting myself feel that way for a while. I don't want to do anything today. Let me bask and I don't want to do anything for 10 minutes. I'll stare at my phone for 10 minutes. I'll set an alarm. But when that alarm goes off, I am no longer the Bryan that would rather walk into an active volcano than go to work today. Maybe I'm now the Bryan who's just going to make it through the day. Maybe I'm going to do the bare minimum today. And that's okay also. Every day can't be a home run derby, right? This is something that I say to the kids that I work with all the time. They come to tennis after school and I ask them, how was your day? How was school? And they're like, it was a terrible day. I hated every second of it. And I'll say, that's okay. All good days can't be good days, or no days would be good days. So something that I have been working with and toying with lately is distinguishing the difference between motivation and discipline. And I even hesitate to use the word discipline because it sounds very rigid. Discipline sounds like something Mr. Miyagi is trying to give you by washing his car and standing on one leg swatting flies. But the word discipline sounds like it has very sharp edges, and I would like it to be a lot softer than that because it can be. Motivation can be the spark, right? I think you are deluding yourself if you think that you are going to be motivated to do all the things that you want to or need to do every day. But you can practice having the discipline to do them anyway. I was talking to my personal trainer and my mentor the other day, and the thing that we likened it to is being in the wilderness and starting a fire. If you have two sticks and you need to start a fire, that is very hard work. That's going to take a while and it's going to be difficult. But once you get the fire started, keeping it lit is not quite as hard. It takes some persistence in collecting wood and feeding the fire when you need to, but it is much lower effort to keep the fire going. And that is what creating discipline with your habits should feel like. The motivation to get started when you're starting from nothing. You've never gone to the gym before, or you've never done a podcast before, or you've never set boundaries with your parents before. The initial spark to get those things started is going to be hard and it's going to be scary, and you might not be sure that you can do it. But if you keep rubbing those sticks together and you push through and you start with some smoke and you start with a spark and you get it going, now keeping that fire alive will be much more manageable. And on the same subject, I think it's important to distinguish the difference between simple and easy. It drives me a little bit insane on the internet when I see 3 easy diet hacks to lose belly fat, or 3 easy tips in the gym to go from scrawny to jacked. And drawing a line between simple and easy is something that I try to do on the tennis court all the time, because they'll understand what I'm saying and be like, why can't I do it? And I'm like, yes, the concept of hitting a tennis ball is simple. Swing the racket at the ball and watch it go over the net. I'll always tell them, like, dunking a basketball is simple. You jump up, you put the ball in the hoop, but go out and try to dunk a basketball. It's not easy. So a lot of these goals that we set for ourselves are pretty simple. Eat better, eat more fruit, eat more vegetables, eat more protein. That is a simple concept. But when life gets in the way and you have a job and you have kids and you're stressed and you're rushed for time, maybe it's not that easy to do it all the time. There are certainly ways that you can make life easier on yourself when it comes to nutrition. You can meal prep. You can order a meal service that has your meals already cooked for you. But the point is that just because something sounds simple doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And sometimes we can beat ourselves up because in our heads we're going, this is so easy. Why can't I do it? Why can't I see all these other people doing it, but I can't do it? And it's not easy. It's hard to be disciplined on your diet. It's hard to train or work out 3-4 days a week if you've never really done it before. The concept is simple. Show up, pick up heavy thing, put down heavy thing, pick up heavy thing, put down heavy thing. Which is something that I actually say to myself in the gym all the time to try to get myself to do it, because it sounds so hard when I'm looking at the weight. I will literally say to myself, pick up heavy thing, put down heavy thing, because it simplifies it a little bit. I actually have this conversation pretty often when I'm getting into how often I work out. People will be like, oh, wow, you work out 5-6 days a week? You must really like it. And I'm like, no, I actually hate it most days. Most days I'm in there, I walk out going, that wasn't fun. Didn't enjoy a second of it. But what I do like is the feeling of having worked out. I like the mental clarity it gives me. I like that I'm doing something that I know is good for my body. I like the dopamine that it releases in my brain. I like that it connects my mind and my body. I spend a lot of time here. I live up in here, especially in high stress and high anxiety times. I live in my head and I'm not always connected to my body. So when I'm lifting weights, and I'm focusing on connecting my mind and my muscle, it is putting me back in touch with my body and I feel very connected. And that is something I like. But the process of doing it most of the time is not fun for me. So that's what I got for today. We did something that we maybe weren't in the mood to do. Well, we got it done. We shared, we grew together. I'm happy that you're here. If you liked what you heard, if you liked what you saw, if you were watching, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe everywhere you listen, put something in the comments, all that fun stuff. It really actually does help with a daddy algorithm when you do that. I was your host, Bryan Clark, when I started. I have been your host, Bryan Clark, and I will be your host, Bryan Clark, next time. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'm out.